This is Nick, Roger High School Bass Team. We're going to talk to you about, pre-spawn, post-spawn situations, what we throw, what we target, whole 9 yards about the pre and post-spawn. Nick, what do you got?
Oh, my first bait on the show is probably my favorite, the Mega Bass 110 jerkbait. I like using it because before in pre-spawn, the beginning of it, they're gonna be moving in, and the first ones to go in are gonna be the males, and they're gonna be back in building nests. But the females, the bigger ones, are gonna be hanging out a little bit deeper, and they're just eating as much as they can. And so I like throwing this because it goes. I can throw it kind of away from the bank to target the females, and this is what they're eating. They're feeding on shad, and I find I catch a lot of big fish post or pre-spawn with this. Or I get some post-spawn is also. Alright, what's your first bait?
So I always start off with crankbaits. No matter where I fish for pre and post spawn, I can get them deep. I can pick whatever color, size, however deep I want it to go, depending on where I think the fish are at. They're great around rocks, which I believe that's where those big females kind of set up. The rocky areas that are shallow but close to deep water. And what they do is they eat bait fish and crawfish. They eat whatever they see pretty much. So I always start off with crankbaits. My first one this year that I've liked a lot is the Berkeley Digger 8.5. That casts pretty good, dives good. Another good one, always the DT series from Rapala. This is the DT 16. And then, I got my all-time favorite one, the Spro Fat Papa 55. I think this dives like 7 to 9 feet. So it's in that perfect range, goes through the rocks good, really good paint job. Another good one is the Livingston Lures Dive Master 14. It goes 14 feet, has that EBS technology or whatever they call it. That's a good one, casts good, dives good. That's it for crankbaits. You can really throw anything, any crankbait, and they'll eat it. So, what's your next one, Nick?
My next one will probably be more to target the males up on the shores building nests. It's the a biffle head, a VMC biffle head, or rugby head they call it, and the Berkeley Havoc pit boss. And I like doing that because when they're up there digging in the rocks, making the nest, they run crawfish out of the rocks. And what you can tell a lot if you catch a fish, you look in their mouth, you can see. First thing you'll see on the males is a brown line around underneath the lips on the inside, and you can tell they've been picking up rocks and moving them. And then the back of the mouth, you can see where they're kind of red. That usually indicates that they've been eating a lot of crawfish. So when I see that, I definitely go to this or anything that resembles crawfish. This is kind of my favorite because it's kind of a little more subtle of a bait, and I can really target it really well. And it goes along the same with the jigs. For the clear water, I like using the Gary Yamamoto trailer. Now, if the water's gotten kind of dirty, I'd go to the Berkeley Havoc Fatty Craw, just gives a little bit more bigger bait, bigger profile. What's your next bait?
So, sticking with that reaction theme that I have going right now, I have a booyah spinner bait and then a Z-Man chatterbait. So what I can do with this is, it's fairly weedless, goes through rock good and trees and all that stuff. So I cast it basically anywhere, and I just cast it and I start cranking. Sometimes I'll pause and it'll sink down and kind of flutter, and I'll give it a couple twitches. Just depends on what the fish want. So around here right now, this time of the year, the water is pretty dirty, so I'm staying with the chartreuse colors. But for your clear lakes, I'd go with like a green pumpkin seed or whatever they call this color for chatterbait. Like a mouse color on your spinner baits, just sexy shad. Just stick with natural colors if it's clear, and then your brighter colors if it's dirty, and just throw a spinner bait the whole entire day, and you'll come across 5 big ones easy. All right, Nick.
Another tip I can give for fishing this time of year, especially with the jerkbait. Just the other day, I caught a really good fish off the dock. A female getting ready to go back in there and spawn. And areas I would target for the big females would be offshore brush piles or big rocks, and also up on the docks. We don't think of the docks that much, but anywhere a fish can sit to ambush is where they're going to be sitting there. They just want to sit there and be lazy and eat as much as they can really fast. They all put out any effort. They're trying to build up weight for spawn. So I'll just target anywhere the fish can sit there and ambush, and that's where you're going to get some of the big females in pre-spawn.
So my last overall bait is got to be a jig. You know, they work all year anywhere you go. And so with the jig around this time, I fish the deeper areas for those big pre-spawners. And you can also go up shallow if you need a quick limit and, you know, catch those buck bass that are working on making the bed. So, I mean, I'm sticking with the finesse style jigs. You can go up if you're needing a big kicker fish and go with your bulkier jigs. But for the most part, it's just like a little round ball with a spider. My colors are usually like a bluegill color. The bass hate bluegill around the spawn time, just because they eat their the eggs. And so, you know, bluegill color is always good with like a Berkeley chigger crawl trailer in kind of like a bright flashy color. And then green pumpkin, orange, brown, I don't know what they call this, with the Excite Baits raptor chunk or whatever they call it. That's always good, and especially in dirty water, I found it really good. You think black and blue would be good? I don't really like it. You just, you know, paint the crawls orange with some dye, and I mean, I've caught 12-pound bags on a lake that's usually 5 pounds to win a tournament just throwing this jig around. So it works. It's what works for me. Jig's always good for pre and post spawn.
One thing I would say about targeting fish, like you said, the buck bass building the nests, they're an easy 5 bass. And places I pick for that would be, my go-to place is definitely like around boulder rocks. There'll be a place kind of behind it, kind of secure. Because they try to find the safest place to have them. They don't want to have them out in the open where everyone can see it, everything can see it. They want to try to pick the places kind of like up underneath rocks, somewhere protected. So I'd target that with crawdad type baits.
Areas to look for pre and post spawn bass. You know, it has to have deep water close by. They come out of that deep water as they're like wintering holes. So look for areas that are close to where you caught them in the winter. You know, so rocks, laydowns are good. Kind of 45-degree banks that are really rocky and maybe have some trees in the water. For spawning fish, back of the creeks, protected from the north wind. That's really key, is that protection from the north wind, because it kind of warms up the water and it's not as cold. And you, I mean, you just drop down the trolling motor and look for like a white dinner plate, pretty much is basically what the beds look like. And then you'll see like a dark shadow on it, and that's either the buck or as you get later on into the spring, it's a big old female waiting to lay her eggs. You got any more tips?
No.